Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Magazine Live. It is Monday, October 24th, and I am your host, Q, coming to you once again from my mother's basement, and I am joined by my fellow one-lettered co-host extraordinaire, P. How goes it in your mother's basement?
Well, first of all, I resent the implication that I live in my mother's basement. I do not. My day is going fantastically. We just got chickens, so I've been rocking out with them, teaching them about Bitcoin. My chickens, chickens are known to be able to count. They can be trained to count. I've already trained mine to hold their own keys and custody their own Bitcoin. So I'm optimistic. And there are more chickens on this planet than there are humans. So I think we're about to see a huge surge in uptake for Bitcoin.
So, serious question now. Do your chickens hold altcoin chicken, which is, as I just Google searched, a real altcoin that exists?
No, they do not. They are Bitcoin only chickens. And again, I'm insulted that you would imply anything else.
Okay. Do they hold Doge?
Fuck no.
We're going to move on from P's chickens, although he did build them an incredible mansion that he will post on Twitter. So if you're not following Fajil, as I like to pronounce it, make sure you follow Fajil. Give me a follow. If you are not yet subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button down below over on YouTube or up above on Rumble. Guys, we got a jam-packed episode for you, but it's going to be short and sweet because we don't want to break your cameras. We don't want to be on camera too much today. We're going to do news and notes, and then we're going to hop on over to Twitter, and we're going to hang out with Alec Gladstein and some of his friends and talk about roll-ups. You're not going to want to miss that conversation, but because we do have a limited time with you today, we're going to dive right into news and notes. And we're going to start, two American guys, talking about the UK government, because that makes the most sense. We have official word that Rishi Sunak, the former Minister of Finance of the UK, will become the next UK Prime Minister. Worth pointing out that this is a pro-crypto candidate, if you will, during his time as finance minister under former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Sunak announced he wanted to turn the UK into a crypto hub. He helped usher in the Financial Services and Markets Bill, which, if passed into law, could give local regulators broad power over the crypto industry, starting with bringing asset-pegged crypto, like stablecoins, into the scope of payments regulations. And this is the real kicker, in my opinion. Under his leadership, the country's coin producer, the Royal Mint, was tasked with creating a non-fungible token, an NFT. Yes, I'm not kidding. They were tasked with creating an NFT collection, which has yet to come to fruition. Oh my fucking God. The UK Prime Minister is like a full-blown shitcoiner, and not just like, I dabble in this. Yeah, like I have a no, he like mints NFTs, Gary V level of scammer. P, can we just get like a red alert warning for our audience in the UK, please?
No, wait, that was the wrong one. That's the excited one.
Yeah.
No, I don't know enough about this person specifically to tell them to go fuck themselves, and yet they can go fuck themselves. It is a bold claim to make to say that somebody is a Gary V style scammer. Gary V basically shat on his hand, swirled it around with his finger, and then drew some pictures on some paper and got people to buy them. I suspect it's hard for me to imagine that this person is right,
that is fair, because the Royal Mint was commissioning some incredible artists to wipe their butthole and then draw on paint to then give to UK citizens. I mean, look, Gary V, if you're offended by what we have to say, feel free to come on our show. Come tell us your side of the story. I dare you to. I dare you to show up on our show and try to defend your scam. But to bring it back to the story at hand, the UK seems to have found their new prime minister. What this means for Bitcoin, at bare minimum, we know this guy knows Bitcoin exists. Does he understand the value proposition of it? Pretty unlikely given his shitcoin prowess. But time will tell. At some point or another, he will see the light. Just hopefully for the sake of UK citizens, it will not be too late by then. P, let's talk Kanye though.
Absolutely. The Kanye saga continues. Most recently, in the Bitcoin space, he was accosted. Paparazzi, of course, follow him around everywhere. And he was coming out of Sports Academy Thursday night and was asked explicitly about Bitcoin. And to his credit, his response was, "I am not knowledgeable enough about Bitcoin." I appreciate this. Also, I want to say this Kanye story, it's a non-story, but people want to hear about it, so we're talking about it. Kanye has been in Bitcoin since something like 2013, 2014. So he is not, this is not a new thing, Kanye being adjacent to the Bitcoin space. But I have to say, I do really appreciate that he is not making bold claims about Bitcoin, about the future of money, about the future of currency. I think it is a very uncharacteristically humble thing to say. I don't know enough about that to have opinions. I think that's awesome. I wish more people would do that the world over. So props to you, Kanye. Let's fucking go.
I got to share this little story from Kanye's interview with Joe Rogan ahead of the 2020 election, where, you know, Rogan presented him a situation where it was like some adversary of the US, whether it's North Korea, Russia, or Iran, like fired nuclear weapons at the US. Like, what would you do if you were president? Like, Joe Rogan presented him with this question. And to Kanye West's credit, instead of giving like the roundabout politician answer, he was like, I would first pray and then turn to the people that I put into the position that know more about this situation than I do and hear their advice and make a proper assessment off of that. Now, mind you, that's literally what every president does, down to the pray to God we don't die and then ask people what he should do. And I say he because we've never had a woman president, so it's fair for me to say that. No president will ever openly admit, though, that that's what they will do. So to Kanye's credit, like he can think things through rationally. You just kind of don't have to take him literally. But secretly, Kanye holds some Bitcoin. I'm starting to get more and more convinced that he lost the private keys or like lost the hard drive or computer that they're stored on. But remains to be seen. We don't need to spend too much time talking about it. We do it for you, for the people.
Wait, you said that he secretly holds Bitcoin. He's not secretive about it. He's been very upfront about the fact that he, was paid in Bitcoin back in, was it 2013, 2014, and he's just chugging along.
But he's never admitted to having held it, nor has he admitted to selling it. So my plausible conclusion is that he has lost it.
I feel like you're making a story out of a non-story. You're like, we can neither confirm nor deny that he is a lizard person alien who also invented Satoshi Nakamoto. I say invented Satoshi Nakamoto because he built the android that we all understand to be.
Wait, does that mean Fajilgil is Satoshi because he built the Satoshi bot?
Yes, that is exactly what it means. 100%.
Well, on this topic, though, P, I think it's time for us to put our tinfoil hats on because we got a story for you guys.
I'm ready. That was a record time.
Okay, I can barely hear you through my headphones in this now because it's working. So we're gonna rock with it. But this is honestly a crazy story that has been brought to our attention. It looks like defense departments around the world have lost track of a Russian nuclear submarine. While this can be scary on paper as we hear about the impending nuclear strike coming from Russia, what's more telling is not the fact that they've lost this submarine. Yes, you must have the tinfoil dildo on your forehead as well.
Let's keep going.
So we have lost a nuclear submarine, but the interesting thing is the fact that the Department of Human Health Services has bought nuclear emergency drugs to treat radiation poisoning from Amgen. Now, this is a government contract that was issued to Amgen. What will be the most interesting thing is when the best traders in the world, i.e. Congress, start buying shares of Amgen, then we are about to enter nuclear fucking war, people. But they're not going to tell you that until they've stacked their bags and then let us know, oh, by the way, there's a nuke coming. Hug your kids. Spend this time with family because we value family.
Okay.
Literally, straight up. If Austin Scott or Nancy Pelosi, two of the best traders that Wall Street has ever seen, never set foot onto Wall Street's floors, if they start buying Amgen, some shit is going down.
Okay, wait. We got to deconstruct this story. There's so many wild leaps here, which is why we're wearing tinfoil hats.
Yes.
And I've, of course, got a tinfoil dildo on my forehead. Did we lose track of a nuclear submarine, or is it, when you say we lost a nuclear submarine, it's not that we lost it. It's that nuclear submarines are tracked the world over and we lost track of an existing nuclear submarine. It's not like it's like a ghost submarine that's like floating around manned by robots.
Correct. by saying laws that this Russian submarine with nuclear weapons attached to it is no longer showing up on any sort of tracking system that the entire world has agreed to use for weaponry that has nuclear weapons.
That's interesting. I'm assuming that it's not possible for that to not be a story because I'm assuming that everybody, the public is tracking these things very closely. But my first thought is,
like, it could be, this is where the story really is. It's not the Amgen stuff. Like, the government contracts for different types of drugs go out all the time. Like, you want another conspiracy theory, guys? Trump paid Moderna a shit ton of money in January of 2020 to start developing the COVID vaccine, not in March after they did lockdowns. So just food for thought. Like, these type of contracts go out very consistently and very, very often with no necessarily like, oh my God, we're about to enter nuclear war. We're just kind of like tinfoil hat having a little bit more of an extremist viewpoint on this. But I do think it is worth noting that the most important part of the story is not the drugs. It's not that. It's not even if Nancy Pelosi buys Amgen. It is just the whereabouts of this nuclear submarine, especially on the tail end of last week when we were having, or 2 weeks ago, when we were having these conversations around whether or not it is a legitimate fear to have that Putin will use nuclear force in some capacity to fight off against Ukraine or just the West in general. I think this losing the submarine feeds into that narrative. You're just not seeing it talked about in mainstream media, though, and that's where I'm kind of like, huh.
Yeah, I mean, I still have so many questions. I wonder, how often does this happen? How often do we lose track of nuclear submarines? It sounds like this never happens. I gotta take this thing off. It's wobbling all over the place, driving me crazy.
And now they're going to read your thoughts. You're so screwed.
You're right. All right, I'll put it back on in a second. The point is, how often do these things get, how often does tracking get lost? I think the Amgen thing is interesting. I also think that it's not that like Pelosi or any of these people are, predicting the future. They are traders. They are using the information they have. They may understand that there's a story that's about to come out that is going to freak out the populace rather than actually lead to nuclear war, right? So they're just trying to play the markets as much as anybody else. I think that's what's going on.
Fine. All I'm saying is if Nancy Pelosi starts stacking Amgen stock, I will as well. And not financial advice, but you probably should too.
Jesus. By the time let's move on. Let's talk about
SBF.
Fucking SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. I hate bringing him up, but I think this is an interesting one because he published a paper recently that on October 19th entitled Possible Digital Asset Industry Standards. And in it, he is advocating for a number of just ridiculous KYC, AML style systems and arguing that they're a positive thing. He wants fully reversible transactions. He wants, tokenized equities, which is a slightly different category. He wants, customer protections, disclosures, and stability. He wants sanctions, allow lists, and block lists. He wants reversible transactions. He wants all sorts of shit. And he got thoroughly spanked over Twitter, so thoroughly that he then issued an apology and a retraction on a lot of it. He thanks people like Eric Voorhees, Ryan Adams for their feedback and input, and a bunch of other people to name. I won't even go into all the specific retractions he made, but the reason I'm talking about this is because you need to understand that everyone is working their own angle, right? We talk about this a lot. You show us the incentives, we'll show you the outcome. SBF is not a good man. He is not here to protect people. He is not here to protect the industry or to do anything that does not immediately pump his own bags. And once you start interpreting everything that he, and frankly, everyone in this industry, even Bitcoiners, say within that frame, you will become much wiser and you will be less likely to be taken in by scams. But SBF is 100% a scammer. He's here to build up his own empire and doesn't give two shits about consumer protection, about pushing forward the agenda of Bitcoin, except in as much as it allows him to become richer than everyone else. That's it. That's the story.
Almost like SBF doesn't really care about the ethos of Bitcoin and what it offers, and just about cementing his bag and never losing his place as one of the wealthiest people in the world.
Absolutely, as is his right. Right? I'm not
Totally.
saying that like people should be able to make money and be profitable, but don't make the mistake of thinking that he's here for anything other than profit, and he's not a
His own
Bitcoiner.
profit, not
His
even
own profit.
like these rules. Also, I think this is something really, really important to point out. And like, this is an issue I have, for example, with the whole conversation around big tech and trying to rein in big tech. All of the processes that big tech or SBF puts forward for their industry will only harm a future competitor from being able to form and rise up, more so than inhibit or help you as a user of FTX or as a user of Google, Meta, or whatever you use. It's not helping your experience, these new laws that get put into place, but it does hurt competition from rising up. And in turn, by limiting competition, that does hurt the user experience because they no longer have to innovate. They get to sort of keep their place. And now P has a micro penis tinfoil dildo. Love it.
Yeah. I also say, as is his right, he's a profitable, he's a private entity, he can do whatever he wants, but also fuck these people. Don't make the mistake of thinking that they are here for anything other than as I said, pumping of their own bags and the larger crypto space. If you have to use an exchange, use one that is a Bitcoin only exchange, take custody of your own keys. Understand that when somebody starts talking about like reversible transactions and whitelist and blacklist, you need to understand that is ways of putting the shackles of financial apartheid right around your neck, because that's all these systems do. So don't get taken in, hold your own keys. Bitcoin is the only way.
Am I unmuted? Yes, I'm unmuted. All right. Let's talk this next story, but I want to preface it by saying we go into another weekend and we come out of it yet again with another beautiful piece of art getting ruined by climate activists under the name of "this is for the climate, this is for the betterment of humanity and society." Cool, bro. You glued your hand to the wall and threw mashed potatoes on a $110 million Monet painting in Germany. Like, congratulations. You solved climate change by doing that. Like, no, you quite possibly hurt your movement and your cause by becoming that obnoxious group that's just going to throw food at whatever they see fit. Why, guys?
I want to correct one thing you said. This is designed to be a spectacle, not to actually damage the paintings. I had the same reaction. I was like, why the fuck? But actually, these paintings are, as producer Chris, who is in the middle of, he's inside of a tree as it's being chopped down, which is why he's not here with us today. The audio.
That's how you be a climate activist, guys. You camp in the tree that they're trying to chop down until they won't do it. Shout out to producer Chris.
Now, to be clear, this is a tree that was in his own backyard that he paid to have cut down. So a lot of confusion, a lot of lack of understanding on his part, on the people that he paid to cut down the tree's part. He's still there, though, and we want to respect him for standing up for his own beliefs. He'll be back with us tomorrow, probably, if the tree has been ground down and dragged away with chains and slave shackles, because they enslaved the trees, forced them to work, like in Lord of the Rings. My point is, these paintings are encased in glass. They're not being, as I understand it, they're not being damaged. This is just purely people doing stuff that doesn't mean anything, in my opinion, to try to draw attention to a fight, which I think is fundamentally flawed. We talk a lot about on the show how, ESG narratives are primarily designed and very effective at preventing and retarding human progress in ways that benefit specific groups of people. It's a very, very effective meme. I think that's what's going on here. But really, these paintings are encased in glass. They're throwing like mashed potatoes on glass. Then they super glue themselves to the wall, and then they record it. And then the security comes, takes them off the wall with solvents, and is like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And that's the end of the story. So it's a non-story, but it's funny. So we're talking about it. Learn about Bitcoin, my friends. Learn about Bitcoin.
I'm going to just say, to your point, like, all they want is attention. Like, they want us having this conversation. So maybe they did win. ultimately, like, they're just the
Fuck.
worst.
Yeah.
They are the
Now,
worst. But let's talk Bitcoin for the last 5 minutes.
Wait. I want to say one other thing. Here's something that I would very much support.
Hiding in a tree while it gets chopped down so it doesn't get chopped down?
Go into one of these places and just plug in an S9. Just be like, have like a big sign on it that's like, this machine greens. This machine protects the environment. This machine allows us to continue to invest in sound money and maintain our financial freedom, and just plug that in right next to the Monet and just leave it there. Why not? Maybe have some flames and some fireworks that shoot off inside as well. Set off a few fire alarms. It's my own suggestion, not financial advice. Hashtag.
Honestly, at that point, you might as well just light a joint next time you go to the museum too.
Great.
All right, let's talk Bitcoin.
Let's do it. So, I like to highlight more technical stories that are focused on, advancing the Bitcoin protocol and advancing the tools that are built within the Bitcoin space. One of those that I'm excited about is a wallet called Nunchuk. They're pushing the boundaries of what is possible, in terms of building on top of the soundest money that has ever existed, Bitcoin. So they just made a new release. It includes primary key accounts and which is to say, like, using Bitcoin private keys to sign into things. Nunchuk has a really interesting multi-party, multi-sig kind of convenience feature where you can use, text messages or the Nunchuk app to basically synchronize and communicate the partially signed Bitcoin transaction between multiple multi-sig parties, which makes it easier. They support health checks over NFC with the new Cold Card MK4, a bunch of other things. And again, I personally do not use Nunchuk, but I played around with it a little bit, and I'm bringing this up because we want to make a point here of, as I said, highlighting and supporting projects that are pushing the Bitcoin space forward, building on top of Bitcoin. So way to go, guys. Keep it coming. And as people build cool stuff, please feel free to message me, message Bitcoin Magazine, and we will highlight them here on the show.
One final piece of Bitcoin news. Thank you to No BS Bitcoin. The total network hash rate provided by all publicly traded miners, publicly traded in the United States, I believe. I'm going to caveat it with that, but check my work. Call me an idiot if I'm wrong. Is above 25%. So about 1/4 of the total network hash rate. You can actually own a share of those companies. Is this anything for concern? Am I being that doomsday guy, being like, at a certain point, we probably shouldn't have more than a certain amount of the total network hash rate on publicly traded companies that are probably going to be more compliant with US regulators than individual miners or miners elsewhere? So food for thought.
No, I completely agree. I think that it is a slight cause for concern that there are so many publicly traded miners that are operating within the United States that represent so much of the hash rate. The more decentralized the hash rate is, that is to say, Bitcoin mining groups that are being paid by the network, by the protocol to secure the Bitcoin network, the more decentralized that is, the better off we all are. So, it's not like, oh, doomsday and bad things are going to happen, but a little red light starts blinking on the control panel of my brain when we start to see so much hash rate represented by publicly traded companies, because the United States can sink its hooks into those companies and require certain regulatory behaviors, which are not great for the Bitcoin protocol. Now, having said that, the way this works, the beauty of Bitcoin is that the game theory is so strong, the incentives align. So if these entities start trying to fuck around or, mine OFAC compliant blocks, just as happened with Marathon recently, and I say recently, it was like a year and a half ago, when you try to do that shit, the network spanks you down, and basically hash rate left those mining pools, and suddenly they were like, oh, fuck. And then they basically had to retract those statements, retract that plan, and get back on board with what the Bitcoin network ultimately wants. So, we need to keep fighting for decentralization, fighting for censorship resistance, but the Bitcoin network is very, very good at punishing miners and mining pools that do things that are ultimately not great for the network, because the economic incentives punish them immediately. Cart with Stone just posted, My milkshake is better than yours. And I think this summarizes what we're talking about here beautifully. Great way to put it, my friend. Great way to put it.
I think on that note, let's call it an episode, short and sweet for news and notes. I do want to remind everyone the tickets for Bitcoin 2023 are available now. It is May 18th to the 20th in Miami. If you miss Bitcoin Amsterdam, if you miss Bitcoin 2022, this is the one to go to. None of these other conferences, like, they're kind of like weak sauce in comparison to like the main event. Like, let me tell you, like, do you want to go out on a Tuesday night, or do you want to go out like to the big show on Friday? Let me tell you, this is the big show on Friday. It is May 18th to the 20th. Use promo code BM Live to get 10% off of your tickets. Lock in those ticket prices now before they go up. Hop on over to Twitter Spaces. We're going to kick things off with Alex Gladstein in just a moment to talk rollouts with him and some of his friends.
Roll-ups. We're talking about roll-ups on Bitcoin.
Roll-ups. Fuck. So close.
Like fruit roll-ups.
Damn, who changed the teleprompter? This is why we need Chris. Chris, get out of the tree already. Damn it.
He's still in it. He's trapped.
All right, guys. We'll be back tomorrow. Join us on Twitter.